Welcome back to Net Talk after a little hiatus because we have been away at Uni Nationals.
We're busy people.
We're busy people, been busy, lots of stuff going on in the volleyball world at the moment. So we're back at it. We're here just to have a little rundown of
Little chinwag.
a little chinwag about what we've been doing, a little bit of talk about Uni Nationals, a little bit of talk about coaching experiences.
I just remembered as well that we were like, yeah, next episode we'll do the Olympic breakdown. And then we were like, because, we said we'd do it, but I was right. We are straight up liars.
Yeah, we'll do it.
We'll do it.
Eventually.
We'll do it.
Before the next Olympics. We'll get to it.
We got 4 years.
Yeah.
We got 4 years. Yeah.
Because we've been at Uni Nationals for those.
Yeah.
A few juniors have asked me about
What
because
is
I
that?
typically coach them, and we were both coaches for Melbourne University at Uni Nationals this year.
Yeah.
Previous player in previous years. As a student, what is it? It's a
Well,
tournament.
I got a good analogy for this. It is you play as a kid, you play schools cups. It is the adult version of that.
Yeah.
That is like pound for pound, that is exactly what it is.
Yeah.
And you play rather than other school. Well, it is other schools. You're playing against other universities. That's what it is, right?
Yeah, that's pretty much what I mean, spot on. It is Schools Cup for adults at university. So you have to be a university student enrolled in classes.
Yeah.
And then you can go to compete. It I believe alternates between where it is. It's somewhere else and then it's Gold Coast.
I got told.
I don't know if that's a true thing or just how it often works.
I once got told that it was always like a 3-year contract, but the last 3 years it's been in 3 completely different places.
Yeah, there was a bit of a toss-up, I think, after the COVID hiatus because there was a few years during that 3-year period where it was meant to go back on and then it got cancelled and then it has happened now for 2 years.
So we were in Canberra.
3 years since.
We were in Canberra, just gone.
Hotspot, great place to be.
Wrong. I think Canberra's fine. It's the fact that we had to pay for parking at basically every stadium.
Yeah, so it adds a bit of a cost up there for the students. But then also I think we got stuck with the worst weather.
No, we did. It was freezing. It was raining. Was it raining? It rained one of the nights and it was like very wet in the morning. I was like, oh.
And a comment I've had, a real perk of Uni Nationals that school sport doesn't have is that you get to see every sport. So a lot of sports are planned for the same weekend. Some are in different places or different times of year.
Yeah.
But Uni Nationals is for every sport at the same place. But Canberra, for such a walkable city, one side of the city to the next being a 20-minute drive,
We tried.
we did not really get to see any other sports. Maybe 20 minutes of ultimate frisbee I got to see. A little bit of water polo.
I saw some basketball and some beach volleyball for less
Yeah.
than 10 minutes before we had to go on. But you're right. Like normally when we do it in like a Gold Coast, it's like you're in the same stadium as like there's cheerleading, there's basketball, there's netball. I believe they even had gymnastics one year that I was there. Maybe that was.
I think, some other states have, we had precincts was how it ran last year. So, but that was just probably larger stadiums could field more sports. But the volleyball courts just were unfortunately a bit separated from everyone else. Like one of the venues was ANU, a university, great courts, had
good courts.
had 8 courts for volleyball, but then that building was volleyball. And the next building was you had to walk a little while to get to there. So it was just a bit unfortunate.
I did like the hockey venue when we were at the hockey, which wasn't, we were there for like a day, but you got to see the hockey, but like the times didn't really align that much. Overall, not a bad event. Like I was very grumpy the entire time just because my girls played 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games. One of those games was after 9:30 a.m. the entire week. One of those games was before 8 a.m. I've never, please, anyone in the comments, except for if you're overseas, because this is just an Australian volleyball thing, I feel like. 8 a.m. games is like fine. Like,
it's a tough wake up, but
sucks.
it's okay.
But like even in junior state league, there's 8 a.m. games. Or even in senior state
8:30,
league.
yeah.
So like 7 a.m., I'm looking at this line. This is surely a typo. There's just no way. There's no way I'm getting up at 7 a.m. Had to get up at, what was it, like 5:30 and then get to the stadium like 6:15 and have like a 45-minute warm-up. Could not believe that it was not a typo.
Yeah,
and we had to get there at that time.
The men's side got very lucky over the first 3 days. All of our games were at that 11 a.m. slot, and then we would have 11, and then we'd have like 3. So maybe a little bit of an awkward break, but that's better than starting in the morning.
Yeah, I'm still
but then
grumpy
sort
about
of,
it. Yeah.
if you got knocked out, I think that was what sort of forced you to get that worst time slot, just to squeeze as many games in as possible.
Yeah. But credit to my girls that I had. They're an amazing team. They responded. There's no way I'm as positive as the girls that I was coaching, but they decided it was a great idea to do a 6:15 warm-up with a Just Dance routine, which was great, very entertaining. All the teams loved it.
I think for our 7 a.m. start, we just moped onto the court.
I grumpily found my coach's chair, slumped it with a very, very angry look at the uni sport official that was sitting over there. And I was just like, I don't care. You've put me here. I'm in a bad mood.
Yeah. So I don't know if we've said it. Well, we've mentioned it, but we'll just say outright, what team did you coach for Uni Nationals?
The Melbourne University women,
Yeah.
which was, they did a great, maybe not the result we wanted, but we all got our goals that we set for the week out of it. It's a really wild tournament, and it's sometimes really tough. But no, I'm really proud of the girls I had. They were a great team, and I'll probably see them in my club team that I'm coaching next year. So I'm really keen on that. Who'd you have?
I had the Melbourne University men. So maybe not the result we wanted as well, but we probably had a lot more turnover. It is a big challenge of university comps is the players you have available. So a few missed due to study commitments, a few graduated, myself. So like there's a bit of turnover from previous years, winning last year. Just throw that out there.
We need to have like
year,
a winning, Alex mentioned winning counter, like that's one.
Just the bit difficult, but I think we had a great group of people.
Yeah, it was a good vibe.
It all got better like over the comp as well, playing with new people across probably a bigger spread of divisions in the normal state league comp. But they had a tremendous time. And then I maybe a bit of a treacherous turn before the final day. I was offered a little bit of assistance from another team.
Yeah, go on.
Oh, yes.
The medal as well. You imposter.
Oh, I'm an imposter. I'm a
Melbourne Uni
turncoat.
won't be happy with you.
I'm a turncoat.
Yeah, proper. I can't believe I didn't even realize you had the medal.
Had the medal too. Got to stand in those ceremonies. So one of the Western Sydney boys, this is Western Sydney University.
Yeah.
Asked if I'd be willing to sit on their bench for their quarterfinal versus Monash University.
For those who don't know, there is a very, very strong rivalry between Melbourne University and Monash University. And at any attempt to upset Monash University, Alex puts his hand up and it's straight to the bench, strategizing how we're going to beat this team.
Knew a lot of those boys on the Monash team, and they might not have realised it. I've sort of known those Western Sydney boys for the last couple of years because they've had a lot of actually consistent team over the last couple of tournees.
And you played them last year and the year before.
Yeah, actually, I've never played against them. We never matched up in the fixture. But so asked if I'd sit there and look at Monash through the net while sitting on their bench. And I think at warm up, a few boys from the Monash went, "Why are you sitting over there in a Western Sydney jumper?"
They weren't happy.
And then as soon as warm up sort of ended, I stood next to the bench, signed my name on the score sheet, and was on their bench.
Did you not have like one of the Western Sydney guys was like, "Here, take the jumper. You got to look apart. You can't have a Melbourne Uni jumper on the bench."
Yeah. So then I got to be on their bench because it goes back a little bit from winning last year. So tick number 2, Josh from their team, their captain and middle, also basically their coach, is their coach, runs their whole.
Yeah, player coach, which is really tough at that.
There's a lot of teams actually that didn't have a designated coach we can speak about, and he was in all of our team photos at the end of the tournament last year.
Right. Yeah,
he was on our bench as an assistant.
It's only fair you return the favour.
Yeah, it's only fair that I return the favour. Although he didn't get a medal last year. They ran out of medals because we did have a full squad last year of 14 and a coach and an assistant essentially already.
Yeah.
And then he came and sat as a second assistant.
Well, now he's got his own medal.
Now he's got his own medal.
The rose gold.
Yeah, rose gold. So they'll be good. I think this might be the last time they've run it back. A few of them will be graduating or changing. So that team will look a bit different. But they were fourth in 2022.
So
I think a little unlucky last year and
now back to bronze.
Back to bronze. So
that's pretty good.
they got it and I had a lovely time.
Context as well.
Sitting on the side.
Context, like, I don't know if it was you being there, but the Western Sydney guys actually did end up winning that game against Monash, and there was not a lot of happy faces on the other team because was it a semi-final? No,
that was a quarter. That was a quarter final.
So Monash got knocked out.
Yeah, knocked out of medal contention was very tough because Western Sydney came with a lot of momentum and won that first set, which might have been riding off a bit high, a bit of energy, and then the energy sort of fell away.
And then
they lost, and then they won the third because Uni Nationals is a best of three competition
until finals.
So it's a very hard environment.
It's similar to it's really short. I won't name him because I haven't spoken to him whether he wants to be named or not. But there was a certain player from that Monash team. This is from his brother, which might give it away for those who know him, which is fine. Who said the day before that, he was like, I haven't met Alex much before, but I love him. He's a great guy. The day after you beat them, he was like, I hate Alex.
I'm off him, I believe was his words.
Off him. Yeah, that was the word. So, look, we love those guys on Monash, but sorry.
Few of my players have made a couple comments here and there that I lost my voice, as you may tell, but that might not have happened until I started cheering a little. You were cheering a little more ferociously.
Yeah.
Ferociously for the Western Sydney.
Well, it's easy because it's against Monash, so it's fine.
And it was a different coaching style. Being a environment coach, like I'm not giving them feedback.
No, they know
players running, like what they're doing. Like here and there, they can look at me, but I was actually just there to yell.
And that you can do pretty well.
Did an all right job.
But then you left me by myself on the commentary for the AVL game later on. So, but that was you were a little bit sick, so you couldn't we drove to Canberra as well. That's really important. Like that's a 7-hour drive. But we did it there before, and just what a week that uni games is always a really big week.
But it's a good spot, Canberra, actually, in terms of cost, because
it is cheaper.
Cost is always a big barrier for university students, but then being able to drive and split petrol is a lot cheaper than having to fly and stuff. Versus previous years, accommodation was actually kind of the same cost.
Oh, when your accommodation's actually booked.
Yeah, a few issues there.
I am throwing some shade there. I need to just, if you're booking, if you're organising sports, figure it out.
Yeah.
Book everyone's accommodation. Yeah. Anyways, moving on. Wait, hold on. Not moving on. This is something we should talk about. This episode's going to be a lot of coaching advice and a lot of coaching advice, but also a lot of advice for players who potentially are unhappy with their coaches that they potentially have, or just unsure about if they agree with the coach and how to sort of deal with those sort of things. But something we're going to talk about a lot is expectation setting, goal setting, and stuff like that. Uni Games is a short tournament. It's usually with players that you don't play with, because Melbourne University is a university that you don't have to go to play with our club that is attached. That's a mouthful, sorry. Essentially, you can be a student at Melbourne University and not play at Melbourne University Renegades, which is our club. So the team that I had, there were about 2 players that played in the same team. Everyone else is from different teams. And that was very similar with you. So how did you set goals, considering you trained for 4 weeks, 5 weeks, and it's once or twice a week, and then when you're into a tournament that lasts for an entire week, how do you set goals and expectations for something like that versus a season? Yeah,
it's something I already reflected on that I probably should have done better at setting team goals, because there's the idea of your dream team of the students you'll be able to get, but then obviously people have complications of attending. So a lot of the stuff I did was trying to be a lot more personal about what your role will be in the team. So I was trying to establish that at training that, hey, you'll be the number one pass hitter. You'll be used a lot in the outer system ball. Hey, maybe we'll struggle to activate our middles, but we need middles that are there and presenting, so they're at least
helping
drawing
the
blocks.
Yeah.
And then just working on being a team that at least flowed together to make changes. I think we did pretty good at that. At least.
Certainly, yeah. I think you guys did really well.
But then actually, I'll come back to it later.
You come back to it, save
Keep
it, put it in the back
I'll
pocket.
save it for a coaching advice thing about introducing stuff to games.
Yeah.
But we had a lot of the tournament always feels so much different to what you prepare for. So you never really know how things will shake out.
Yeah,
how
there's
people
always
will deal with fatigue.
There's always curveballs,
Yeah.
injuries, fatigue, potentially some alcohol influence from the night before. But it's uni games, so that happens.
How do you help your team establish their focus for the week?
Normally I don't like. Sorry. I do like asking players what they want to get out of the season, but when I pick season-based teams, so state league teams and stuff like that, I am picking a team based on the goals of that division.
Yeah, you're telling
them. If it's a high division, I'm picking a team that has the same sort of goals. If it's a high division, I'm not really picking players that just want to come and have fun. I want to pick players that want to come and get better and develop and really go for results. But for uni games, it's very different. But I was really lucky to have a team that was very high performance based anyways. A lot of top division players that all came together and went, no. We are here to go out and get a good result. And if we're not going to do that, we want to be put in the best position possible to get as much development out of the week as we possibly can, which normally go hand in hand. Like if you're developing players in the right sort of space and environment, they're getting better and they're going after results.
Yeah.
I think I did an okay job at that. Not the result we wanted, 50-50 on whether you could say it was our fault or just the awfulness of the draw that we got put into. Like out of the 6 top teams in the entire division, 4 of them were in our pool.
Yeah.
So it's just like sometimes you cop that, but we also did lose that game, so like whatever. But all the girls afterwards sort of said like, no, we didn't get the result, but we got the development. Like we felt like we got invested in and got better. So that was the 2 goals. So we hit one of them, didn't get the other. But like it can be difficult because these tournaments, you just have no idea what's going to happen, including playing at 7 a.m.
Yeah. How different other teams look like. I think I only had 1 player or 2 players on my men's team that had been to a Uni Nationals before.
Yeah.
They're saying, so this team looked like this last year. It's like, well, they might look very different.
Yeah.
They might look the same. They might look better.
Yeah.
So a lot of those other teams did look a lot stronger on the men's side. QUT was back to being
their usual
incredible.
selves.
Like they're always amazing because they just have such a good volleyball program up in Queensland that they all
often go to the
involved.
same uni as well, which is so weird and bizarre. But like,
versus like you can get unlucky that you can sort of still do a lot better if you have a lot of teams a lot of players that are maybe in the same reserves team. We had a lot of variation in what club people were from. So
it's a huge advantage as well. Like for example, the team that won the women's comp, they play Premier level volleyball. I think it's like 7 out of 10 of them are from the same team.
Yeah.
And that's going to be a huge advantage. And those girls are really good. We didn't get to play them. I was really keen to play them at some stage, but that's tournament volleyball.
It is. Yeah, it's a great environment to work out who you are as a player and what areas to improve on. Being there as myself across very different teams, very different years, a team that wasn't very good, team that was very lucky in being very good, and also still very lucky in a couple games to progress, to now coaching a team that is maybe back to developing and trying to work to their strengths.
Yeah.
That there's just so much variation in players having to work out what they're missing. Maybe you only fit into one system and you really need to work on being adaptable and progress, and maybe you need to work on inserting yourself into the game as a player that's sometimes happy to sit back and be
maybe like
a bit more
different
consistent.
role from your normal seasonal team.
Even though I'm also probably shifting a fair few people from their position as well.
Well, that's the other 50-50 as well, is like we as coaches, this is a tournament that is, you pay quite a lot of money to go. So it's not about just keeping the same 7 on the whole time. Like there is a bit of participation to it. At least I think. You definitely had a harder time than me. I had a smaller team and I had quite fairly diverse roles within that team that I could chop and change without disrupting. But you had a lot of sort of double ups and overlaps that you had to manage, which I thought you did a pretty good job. But it's like hard, like you had more athletes in the team than I did. but that is something that we have to keep in mind. But yeah, I think overall it was a good tournament. I think both teams that we had hopefully enjoyed us as coaches. Well, we've got a lot of good feedback, so it was something that we often chase, and like how can we get better?
And had a lot of fun watching other players from other unis.
Yeah, people
really
that we know
thrive.
That's the fun thing too.
Yeah.
Is like you often like know everyone, or at least the Melbourne.
You get to know everyone as well over the time. Like you'll start to see those people from unis more often.
Especially if you're in like a 4 or 3 year degree and you go every year, like you'll just like you with the Western Sydney guys. It's just you guys are best mates now. All right. We would like to, again, thank our sponsors for this week's episode, the Melbourne University Renegades Volleyball Club. That is our club. We are from there, and they do a great job in supporting us in our crazy endeavors. They have a ton of programs on offer that you can go to. We may be coaching one of them, or people that we know will be coaching and helping out. So you have a really good elite level support for people who just want to get started, or people who want to play social games, maybe a bit more competitively. Head to members.renegades.com.au and check out all of our programs. We're also in post-season training for our state league team. So if you're interested to make the hop over for a club, or just try something out different, or get a bit of different coaching, now's probably the time to head to the website and shoot us an email and come to the club. It's fun.
Yeah, come to the club. There's so much support as players, as coaches in our development. So
absolutely,
it's a great club, great environment, great culture.
There's going to be a few Prem 2 boys screaming at the mics at the moment.
Yeah.
All right. Main segment today is, we're just going to talk about coaching a lot. It's funny. It's good timing because we just did a week of coaching. We had our coaches internal meeting last night, and I think we're halfway through AVL at the moment, the AVSL. So I've seen some coaching styles. We can talk about that a little bit. But we're going to start off with, we very hastily this morning, because I forgot to do it yesterday, asked the Instagram if they had coaching advice for us. So we had some interesting answers. I like it. Some I didn't like, but we'll get to it. Do you want to start us off?
Well, the first one is never introduce new things not practiced. As a coach, sometimes maybe you don't have actually for tournament volleyball, you might come up against a certain scenario and you're trying to introduce something for players, but it's really important to have that foundation somewhere.
Yeah.
Otherwise, players will be lost and you just are bleeding points, not really getting anything productive out of the game environment.
Yeah.
Except for this Uni Nationals tournament, we introduced something that I think you've always been dreaming of doing.
I've been a big fan of it for a long time, ever since my coach showed it to me. Yeah.
I thought about doing it one time last year just based on the players I had for a junior under-19 team.
That was this year, wasn't it?
That was this year, sorry.
Yeah, this season.
That was this season.
Yeah.
Just like really to think about what we had with the players available. It is a 3 middle system or 3 utility.
I have to give credit where credit's. I won't name him because I don't know if he wants to be named. But there was a coach I had many years ago during school. So I graduated from my school and then had to then coach, which was like our pathway that we had. And you start off by assistant coaching, and we had a very, very strong women's team, except we had about 4 middle opposites that could do both. So this system was introduced to me, and it was eye-opening because it's like, oh my God, there's more to volleyball than just setter opposite, pass it, middle. Yeah. Years later, I've tried to use that system every now and again to some success and to some miserable fails. But this actually worked out well.
This actually worked out really well for the guys. So it was probably sort of at a point in the tournament where we were up against a very strong team, and we're like, all right, let's try something to show a different offense, get us in different positions, different matchups. And it runs essentially as a triad of players. So instead of pass hitter being in 2 and 5 following the setter, you pass hitter in 3 and 5. And then the other 3 players in 4, 2 and 6 are essentially middles, opposites, passes.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're in the passing lineup. So if you're ever interested in doing it, really investigate what players will be in what rotations. I was very lucky that I had a couple of players that are very versatile and can do multiple things. So one of our middles would step into the passing line in a couple of rotations just to free up another attacker to essentially just be out there and transitioned.
Yeah.
And it really, really maybe not introducing it at training was actually a fine thing to do because it made everyone really think about their rotation and being in rotation, worrying about, for those that don't know, like the volleyball rotation. Surprisingly, a lot of people don't know what makes you out of row.
Yeah.
It is the player in front of you, like 3 and 6,
And
1 and 2,
adjacent,
and adjacent. So if you're in 6, it's 1 and 5.
Yeah. So if you're in a corner, you can really manipulate it, which we'll talk about that later.
So it makes it a little bit, this system makes it a little bit difficult for setters sometimes. They're running, in one row, they're running a little further.
In one row, they are in, so if everyone can have a mental map of like that position 1 where the setter is behind the pass hitter, and the pass hitter is in position 2. So that happens, except the setter is in the middle of the court and the libero is in front of them.
Yeah.
So it's like the setter has to sort of awkwardly run in between a seam and a passer to then go in and to the net. But like, and it was told to me way back then, like 10 years ago, that this rotation and this system it's very hard to serve receive in this system. But this system is good for 2 things and probably 2 things only, but it's very, very good at them. And that is blocking. It's an incredibly strong blocking system. And it's a very, very good out of system, which I'm a big fan of.
I mean, my guys did a lot of work on out of system. It was probably my biggest focus because I just assumed tournament format passing is the first thing that goes. Almost
so
always.
hard. Yeah.
So you have to have setters that are comfortable putting ball to the stick and hitters that are comfortable hitting from balls that are coming over your shoulder. Or
From 9 meters
from
away.
9, yeah. So really working on that out of system, non-setters even.
But it did work quite well for you.
Yeah.
Your boys really, but this is the whole point, right? Like never introduce new things that we haven't practiced before. So it worked really well for you. It did not work well for me.
Yeah, you also introduced it.
Yeah.
After seeing how tremendously my boys did it.
I'm still going to say that I gave you the idea. But yeah, I was in a similar situation. But yeah, this is, again, 8 a.m. in the morning, playing our quarterfinal, I believe it was. And I had 2 of my players. One was feeling very sick. The other one did a minor ankle injury the night before. So I'm thinking like, oh, geez, I got to think of something here because I'm running out of positions on the court. I only had 1 middle at this stage. So I was like, oh, I could do the flip and run like a 3 outside system, which for those who are wondering how often this system is used, it's actually pretty often. There's a couple of club professional teams that I know of that have actually and do still use this system. Trentino actually used this system for a number of years with 3 outsides to great success. So, and it happens a little bit on the women's side, but I'm not super familiar with some of the Turkish clubs that run it, but I have seen it in footage that they do run it quite a bit. I tried to run it with my girls thinking this is a great idea. And I spoke to the girls. I was like, look, do we want to give this a go? Yes or no? Everyone said yes. Whether we were a bit groggy because it was 8 a.m. in the morning or whether it was because that system was just far too much to learn at that time in the morning, probably my bad. And I said that to the guys. Like, look, yeah. So we burnt the first set a little bit with that system. And I was like, right, let's just go back to regular old. So that advice is, I would say 9 times out of 10, probably a good way to do it. Yeah. Practice all the options, all your Hail Marys. Yeah. Practice it in trainings. That way you don't end up like me and being silly. And
it is very hard because sometimes you will need to hope your players are capable at getting thrown new things. Maybe certain players getting given the role of coming cold off the bench without having that as their thing. Because Uni Nationals in particular, I had a player that had to leave the tournament early due to study commitments that they couldn't get rescheduled. Yeah. You had an injury essentially and an illness that meant you maybe had different personnel available. Like if you only have a squad of 10 players as well, you might need to get a bit creative on the spot with, hey, I know you are an opposite, but you're passing in this row, like passing opposite, introducing other stuff. Yeah. That maybe people aren't super comfortable with in their club because at club you have 2 trainings a week for a whole year.
And it's pretty samey.
And it's pretty same. And you're running a system because you know the players available.
Yeah. And that's probably the crux of this specific advice. And I know the person who's given us this, and I know that he'll want me to say this. I think it's really important and I think I do an okay job at this because this is sort of how our coach, Gus, coaches us for the most part, is train to be versatile and train to be adaptable. Like we do so much out of system with our teams at the moment. It's definitely the focus since we realized that should be the focus for a lot of our trainings, and train different out of system stuff and train to be really adaptable. And following on from training to be adaptable, my pet peeve, and some coaches would disagree with this, and that's okay. My pet peeve is not never, don't always play A versus B. And I think people know what I mean by that is like, don't always play your A team versus your B team. Because if your A team, couple of players go down or one player goes down, suddenly that's different. Suddenly they're passing with players they haven't passed with before or ever at trainings. So I think it's really important for coaches to really try and be versatile, be flexible, train your players to be adaptable. That's my takeaway from this anyways.
Yeah, it also teaches players to actually read and respond to the game in front of them.
Yeah.
Rather than being like, oh, I'm coming up against the same people at every training.
Yeah.
I'm coming up against the person that I normally block next to, or you're starting to respond to a different setter. You get a setter that might have a different setting style, slower pace or faster pace if it goes the other way. And as a hitter, you need to be able to actually respond to the ball that's coming out of their hands.
Yeah, absolutely. And as we get further and further into this too, and I will try not to do it, and I know you don't really do it, but when listening to coaching advice, I don't think nothing is absolute. Like there is no, and that's something that I alluded to in the very first episode we did, is that there is no right way to win volleyball. There's so many different ways. So there's no absolutes. Do whatever you feel is good. But I think a good way to start is probably to train your players to be really adaptable. But anyways, the next one, simply get good.
Someone said get good.
We don't know if this is towards the player or towards the coach, but I think this goes both ways.
I'm taking it another way as well though.
Yeah.
Do you think a coach that is a good player or has a good playing perspective helps them be a better coach?
No.
Nah?
I think it helps, yes. Is it essential? No.
Yeah.
Because like you and I are fairly successful players. We've gotten to play the highest level in Australia for a couple of years now. And does that make us great coaches? I first played AVL in 2018 and I first started coaching senior teams regularly in 2018. I don't think I'm as good a coach. I think I'm far better now than what I was then. And I think that was because I put into learning how to be a good coach and I did coaching courses and stuff like that. So it's helpful. Yeah. It helps you get off the ground, but I don't think that's what makes you a good coach.
Yeah, I actually agree, It's coaching, same as playing more makes you a better player. Coaching more makes you a better coach. So you just need to experience different scenarios as a coach because experiencing a scenario as a player, you think a certain way.
Yeah.
If you experience it as a coach, you just get to then experience it that way. I do think myself, I use my playing experience as a bit of a crutch as well though.
No, I do as well.
I use it a lot of, as a player, how would I get this explained to me? What lane players sometimes will be like, oh, I couldn't attack that ball. I'm like, oh, why do you feel that way? Maybe your transition was bad because it's about the feeling on court, being able to translate that to improvement.
Yeah.
I think I use playing as a big help
But like
to do that.
I think that's good though, because I think because we are quite young coaches, because we still do play. I think it's important. Well, not important, but I think it's helpful for us to have that tool in our back pocket and just be like, all right, I've had a variety of coaches over my career and so have you. So it's like in this situation, I'm watching a player struggle. How would I like that to be approached to me? Like if I was having a shocking game, I know how Gus would treat it and I know how and that would be a good response for me because we've built that relationship over years. Probably, to be honest. Be lucky to be on the court at this stage. No, but like he's really good at bringing me off, giving me a good like, all right, you just got to relax and you're going to go on and think about this or give me a next task or whatever. And that works for me. And I think that's one coach. And I've had several over the years that have dealt with that in different ways. And I know what I resonate with the most. So now, instead of me having no playing experience and I got to make the guesswork of like, right, do I spray them? Do I nurture them? Do I rip them off the court? Do I let them settle down? Do I like, there's all these different options you can do. And I think having us had played for so long and have different coaches, we can sort of narrow it down a bit quicker without the trial and error, or like, yeah, there's some obvious answers. 9 times out of 10, it's probably not to spray your players. I don't think that works anymore. I don't know why that was ever a thing in sport. I understand why it is, but I just never really agree with it. But yeah, get good.
Get good.
This is a good one. This is your favorite because this is what you do all the time. Aim in the back corner, high, long, and strong. Those are the 3 key words. Alex, take us through that one.
I'm a big high, long, strong fan.
You don't really bounce the ball.
I try every now and again, but
you're not a flashy kind of guy.
Yeah,
which is good though.
I just am always be effective rather than
like a show pony.
Big. Like I always love watching players that are crafty or find ways to win points in situations that they shouldn't necessarily finish a point. And it's not often by throwing 100% of their arm into a shoulder and landing sideways.
Yeah, no.
Like a couple players can do that tremendously, but
there's like 3 in the whole world that can do it well.
So it's like finding ways to get your body in a good position, play high off hands.
Yeah.
Hit back line. The international hitting zone's the back meter of the court.
Yeah.
Like a meter to each line.
Yeah.
So like that's sort of always been my focus as a player. I think coach instilled that in me from under 16s, like indoor being like a
I had a real
hit the high, long, strong.
Because even like when I first met you, you'd already said that to me, and I was like, that was a QS thing. So that's definitely like an Australian volleyball, or maybe it's not Australian volleyball.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just a volleyball thing in general.
Like I've slowly tried to shape that a little bit and find sharper hitting angles, but still having a foundation of that high, long, strong.
I think it's certainly good advice to start with. I think I will play devil's advocate a little bit and say that I think depending on the type of player you are, that will apply differently.
Yeah.
For example, I'm a shorter player that tends to thrive a bit better when the ball is faster and tighter so that I can play around blocks. I am not aiming high, long, and strong.
Yeah.
I'm aiming low and sharp.
Yeah, I like room to work with.
Yeah. But then if I'm playing out a system, don't you dare put the ball tight. Well, no, if you do, I'm the 2-hand wipe kind of guy. Like I'm the filthy 2-hand wipe kind of guy.
Yeah.
But I think 9 times out of 10, that advice will never be wrong. The high, long, and strong. Even if the ball is tight to the net, high, long, and strong, it's high off hands. That's a recycled play. That's that's your bread and butter as a pass hitter opposite. Even middles, high, long, and strong. Like a big trend we saw in the Olympics was that middles are not really opting to go sharp anymore. They're going corner. Or their 4 corners system is what I'm seeing. It's like real sharp corner, deep corner, deep corner.
Real sharp
corner.
Because there's defenders everywhere else.
Because you got no hit away from the defenders, I guess, is probably the crux of that. So that's probably a good coaching. I like keywords as a coach.
Yeah.
Some coaches don't, but I think high, long, and strong is a really
certain stuff that'll trigger in a hitter's mind so they're not focusing on 20 different things of their last attack. Just go, hey, your contact point was low.
Let's fix that one.
Fix that. Fix your contact point.
Yeah.
Not say, hey, your first step was a centimetre to the right, and then you've got to go a bit slower and faster, and then like you can't get that conveyed across in between points. You only get you get 8 seconds of serving, but then probably 10-second buffer time.
Yeah.
Depending on the ref, how much they speed it up.
We're definitely out of order here, but I want to go into that. And it's don't overcoach in games, which is something that I still struggle with big time. Something that I tend to do regularly, even in trainings, is like overload players with information. I've gotten better, I think. You can probably comment on that with being on the bench with me at uni games, but I think being a game coach is different to being a training coach. I think training coach, you can overload players a little bit and just see sort of which. So if you give them 5 pieces of information, if they take 1 and run with it, it's like, okay, next time I can give you 5 and you'll take something out. Like it's not ideal, but at least it's something.
Yeah.
I think in a game though, in a game environment like a timeout or whatever, I think you should really minimal. And I think I've struggled with that over the years. But like, what do you think?
I think the best players are players that already know and are responding to their own feeling on court. Just knowing, I didn't get my body in the right place.
Or like, yeah.
I didn't turn my hips enough. Like players know that internally. They don't need someone to say that was bad.
Yeah.
So it's just about being like, I think being a reinforcing person on the sideline going, you're doing fine. You're doing good. That was a good setting decision. That was because often, maybe I notice it the most as a coach for setters, get in their head the most about like, I set that guy and he got double blocked. And it's like, I still think it was a good decision. Maybe
give him another shot.
Better. Yeah.
Give him another shot.
Don't
ABC
set. Don't do ever. Just stick with be confident in yourself. And if you're having issues, we'll fix them at training.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. And I like, you mentioned it and I want to touch on it. Like, don't be the coach that, well, again, going in absolutes here, but like, I just fundamentally disagree with it because I just think it's silly. If your team is passing really bad, don't call a timeout and say that we're passing really bad. I'm pretty sure your players know they're passing pretty bad. I think the best advice I ever got as a junior coach, and I still repeat to this day, was the same coach that did the 3 middle system with me. See if we can get him on one day. Yeah, give your players a focus. Like they know they're passing bad. So it's like, okay, hey, when we get our opportunity to run the middle, let's run there. And like, yeah, that might sound obvious, but to senior school kids, that may not be obvious because right now they're only locked in on how bad the passing is. And if you call a timeout and say our passing's bad, make it better, is that really the best way to make the pass better? If you're giving technical feedback on a specific serve or a specific issue, maybe. But I think going back to like, don't overload the players with all this technical information mid-game. Keep it nice and simple. Give them one bit of feedback that's really going to impact the game. But I think as soon as you get to like 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces of information, you're blowing it out.
Yeah, I like being don't overcomplicate it. Don't be too perfect. Maybe reset, get back to being bettering the ball and just simpler. Yeah. But I do actually want to point out I really liked having an assistant coach available for Uni Nats because you assisted me. Or
yeah, you were never at my games.
I was there. I just wouldn't say as much. But then like at Prems, being able to have an assistant coach that while the team is maybe doing a specific focus, if someone needs something in particular, pulling them to the side and giving them real hard,
like this is what I need
something
to do.
Specific for you. Yeah. I need you to present as an outside. I need you to find down the line or something.
Yeah.
Just like really giving them specific, pulling them from a huddle. Hey.
Yeah. And like you had me do that with several of your players because, you know, there were a couple of players that were struggling with how do we get past this block? And you were like, all right, I'm going to call time out. I'm going to address the team. Can you go talk to these players? And that worked really well for us. But not every team gets an assistant coach. And I think it's really important to mention going on that is like you can get bench players to do that as well. If you have a senior team, maybe it probably isn't going to work with junior teams, but senior teams, I think.
You can get a libero that can convey passing and defense, let them be the general.
Especially if you have 2 liberos, which a lot of our teams we do because we've got 14 players. But yeah, that's a good one. Don't overcoach. Keep it nice and simple. What's that? Like keep it stupid simple. Like that is ultimately.
Keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah. Anyways. How the turntables, whatever, Alex. Moving on. Eyes on the ball. That's a good one, I think.
That is a good one. You got to watch the ball.
You do need to watch the ball. I did
keep actually giving my guys over this tournament a lot of feedback
about how to watch the ball.
About actually being a lot more proactive and responding to the other team's pass, not just watching it as soon as it comes out of the setter's hands or as soon as you know what attacker it's going to, because it just feels like you leave everything too late.
Yeah.
But you can watch and think and be active from first touch.
Yeah.
And be a lot more responsive to the ball for the whole time.
I'm gonna critique you there, and I'm gonna give you my golden advice. You would have heard it before. There's no way you wouldn't have.
Yeah.
Be proactive, not reactive.
Yeah.
I don't remember. Someone told me that, and for the life of me, I cannot remember who.
Me.
It certainly wasn't you. But I reckon that's really good. That's good advice for your players. It's like learn how to be proactive rather than reactive. Like don't react to the set. Like make your decision. Well, take visual cues and act on that information as quickly as you can. Obviously, you know we can't really be non-reactive. You do have to react to some things, but
I did call myself out on giving a bit of contradictory advice because I said a lot of that stuff and I was like, respond to the ball. But then I also, maybe I need to work at phrasing this to be better, I was like, put a blanket up between you and the other side of the net. Just watch the ball. Don't worry about anything else because our side will play our system. We get our options running.
Yeah.
Don't run an option for the sheer sake that the other team's not expecting it.
Yeah.
Run your best option because a couple of times we would like run a C quick and it's like, well, we didn't really run that very often. I think trust a B and a outside. Like
keep to your bread and butter.
Keep to your side,
Yeah.
but then watch the other side.
But then you're also like, no. Watch the other side.
Watch the other side,
Yeah.
but don't do stuff because the other side's doing it.
I guess try not to do that.
Don't overcoach.
Don't overcoach. Yeah. Don't overcoach. Don't over contradict yourself.
Yeah.
All right, moving on.
You want to say this next?
Yeah, if I can say it. Volleyball is a microcosm for life. How you live life shows itself in how you play, which is very fair.
Profound.
To some people it is. To others it's really not. I had one of the girls in the team was very, very vibrant and extravagant, like personality. As soon as she was on the court, she was locked in, didn't say a word. And I was very confused because I'd never spent time with this player because I'd only seen her at trainings. And then to see her at a tournament for the whole thing, I was just like, who are you? Like, what have you done with my player? But otherwise, I think it's pretty good advice. Like players are going to play based on their personality, I think.
Yeah. And Maz, like help that make that good for the team.
Yeah, like you're a goofball when you play opposite.
Yeah, and I'm annoying on court.
And you're annoying in real life.
Annoying in real life.
No, that's a good one. I think that's good advice for like trials and stuff. Is picking out maybe poor attitudes. You'll probably know pretty early on.
Yeah, because that shapes the whole environment of a team. Trying to get people that are committed to training, maybe committed to being coachable.
Yeah. People who are keen to like invest in you as much as you are in them, I think is like, and, we can talk about trials for a million hours, but yeah, it's probably a good, like personality does matter at the end of the day, especially when picking teams, like amateur teams, professional teams, you're there getting paid, like you expected to do a job, but for everyone in Australia, it's very different.
Sometimes some coaches will overreach and go, I can see this guy being the best. They're going to improve so much. And it's like,
at what cost?
Yeah, but what are they now as well? Like you've got to find that
balance.
When
we spoke about it last night at our meeting, like, everyone wants to win, but at the end of the day, you should have secondary goals like results-based goals or development-based goals in a team. Like if it's a junior team, 9 times out of 10, it's probably going to be development-based goals inside of results-based. This is what we want to go for. But anyways, that's in a completely different topic. Last one, and definitely the most important, because I think it is the most important, because if you're not having fun as a coach, like why are you there? Do you agree?
Yeah, have fun. As a coach, as a player. This is for coaching.
I've probably phrased it really badly.
No, it says have fun. Just have fun.
You've put in brackets as a coach.
Yeah.
I think that's fair.
Because players get all the fun, but coaches can have fun too.
I'm going to throw you on the bus and say that I remember a conversation.
I don't have fun as a player.
No. Oh. You were like, I actually brought my jersey to uni games. I could sub myself on and no one would know. Except for the 1,000 people that recognize you from last year.
Whoa. There was a spare spot on my team list because someone had to go home early.
Yeah.
See?
Your name is not their name.
No.
That would have been really funny. I kind of wish you did it just to see if they would have picked it up on it. There's no way they pick up on it.
Could have done it against one of the Victorian teams. Would have been funny. Just sub myself on, sub myself off.
Yeah, and then like see who hates you the most because like you're going to watch them walk up to the Uni Nats rep and go, that guy's a coach.
I mean, there was a very, very funny story that I now understand better from a different perspective from 2022 Uni Nationals. A girl who unfortunately couldn't play due to injury had a walking boot on, a moon boot.
Yeah.
And subbed themselves on to be on the court for a point as a sentimental thing. I believe both teams had agreed to it. Like, they'll come on, they'll stand on court and go off just so they get to experience Uni Nationals, because it was, I believe the injury happened close to Uni Nationals.
And it was like their last year?
Yeah, potentially.
Okay.
So that was the plan. But then I heard it from the side being like, someone just subbed someone on with a moon boot. What the hell? And then it was like, what? But now it's like, oh no, it makes a lot more sense. It was a lot funnier. But she was actually on the team list. I wouldn't have been on the team list.
No. But it would have been funny though.
Yeah, would have been funny. But it's a serious competition.
My girls were trying to convince me to go on because I've got the long hair. They're like, you should shave your beard and you can go on. I was like, I don't think that's not how that works.
Why do you have to shave the beard?
Fair enough. Good tournament overall. Lots of fun. Lots of lessons learned. I still would have loved to see you try and get on the court and just see everyone just like, this guy surely is.
I should have done it for the Western Sydney boys because I had no investment in that team. Just being like, hey, I'm not actually even your coach. Get them disqualified. No, I love them too much.
Yeah. I don't think there's enough attention paid to those score sheets because I realised late in the tournament that I like wasn't writing last names for like half my players because some of their names are not hyphenated, but they're like two names. And I kind of realized on like the second last day that I hadn't been writing the last names and no one had said anything.
It is a difficulty of that tournament. Like another bit of feedback was the dutying was a bit probably lower quality than previous years because most of the referees are volunteering students that are already there for the tournament saying, hey, I am a qualified ref. I will also be a ref.
Yeah.
But sometimes they forget some of the checks, like you're meant to get your accreditation checked so you are a valid student.
Or coach
that is able to be on the bench.
Yeah. And I didn't get my accreditation checked once throughout the entire week.
I just remember, I always went up and asked and was like, hey, here's my accreditation to be a coach.
No, I never.
And then they went, yep. And I went, okay.
No, I didn't do that because,
I mean, you're a coach. You're a coach. I mean, if it backfired, someone would have been like,
I
hey, you a coach? And you
Yeah.
go, yeah, I am a coach.
Yeah.
Here's my qualifications.
But I just, because we were at different venues every day, it was like, it was a whole thing. Yeah. All right. Moving on. Do you want to start this one or do you want me to start this one?
I'll start this one by starting you with this one. What have you learnt recently?
Recently?
Or what have you learnt
This year? Well, yeah. Alex and I wanted to share our years with all of you and talk about, this year, 2024. And like just some things we've learnt this year. Because I think, we've got a podcast now and we're talking about coaching and playing and stuff like that. But we do want to be pretty informative. Like this episode's been really informative, at least we hope. But we're also like not the most experienced coaches on the planet. We are still very new to it. We're still learning. But I think one thing that sets Alex and I apart is that we are still playing and still heavily invested in coaching. Whereas I feel like a lot of people are either playing or coaching. There's a few of us in the fringe middle. We're not the only ones. But yeah, we're trying our absolute best to just put in as much as we can where we can and learn the most. But this is something that we thought of and like, let's
people that hate having free time.
Honestly, yeah, apparently. All right, so this year I learned the biggest lesson I learned, and if any of so this year I coached State League Reserve 1, which is the third highest division in Victoria. And it's a very chaotic division just because of the nature of the division. If you're in Victoria, you'll understand. I'm not going to go through it, but it's just very chaotic. The standard is very wild. Like there is teams that are very, very good and then there are teams that are not so good.
Yeah, there's a lot of variation.
A lot of variation between. So, and you don't play everyone. There's like 24 teams and there's only 16 rounds. So they had to do this like pool split thing. So the biggest thing I learned is that when the season is easy, you need to push harder. And I didn't do that this year. So for example, my guys, I had a very strong team this year and I was very transparent about it. I wasn't like going and tooting the horn to everyone, but I said to my guys, I was like, hey, we've got to work hard. We've got what we need. Let's work hard. Let's go after the result. This is what we want to do. And then we sort of got probably 6 weeks in, and I think all of us, especially me, let the foot off the gas, and we sort of just coasted from there because we would rock up, whip a team 3-0 and go home. And I could pretty much play the bench most weeks. And then some weeks we would come up against a good team like I said, 24 teams in this division, and you've got a massive spectrum of talent in the division. And we just happened to play a lot of the bottom teams middle of the season, middle to late of the season. So I think the biggest thing that I learned was like, you need to push harder when it's easy, because it was easy we'd worked really hard to be really good at the start of the season, and then we'd coasted for a while, and then we came to the pointy end and we weren't prepared. Like I had not pushed the guys hard enough to prepare for our quarterfinal, which we ended up losing, which was devastating for all of us because we looked back and we were like, oh my God, like if you look at us at the start of the season versus that team, we should have smoked them. So that was my biggest thing this year, was like being consistently pushing your team as opposed to I suppose it's hard as well. Like amateur sport, it's a lot of time. Sometimes I did have a very lull middle of the year when I just had a lot of work on and we were playing. Like our mid-season was quite difficult. We had a lot of injuries in our team. We were training really hard. We were playing the hardest teams in our middle of the season, but then coaching for them, I think I just ran out of energy and we were like, oh, we probably could get away with coasting a bit. So my biggest feedback from myself was just don't ever do that again. But
Yeah.
What was your biggest thing this year?
Mine was really trying to get...
Wait, tell them who you coached first.
I coached the Premier under-19 Melbourne University team.
Boys.
Yeah. So a new division to introduce that, I mean, VV, I think actually has it said as being their third tier. So you said Wesleyan was the third division.
Yeah,
Technically, I think VV's trying to increase the prominence of their junior volleyball.
Yeah.
So they're prioritising it to have refs and stuff allocated to it.
Yeah.
And my big focus was trying to get players to buy in to a more high-performance training environment or a more high-performance team environment that matches matter and matches are the crucial thing, but training is the actually more important thing. You get to train. We have very long training sessions actually, so like a 2.5 hour time slot and then a 3 hour time slot.
Yeah.
So you get 5.5 hours of time to play volleyball versus
which is
you
far
only get
more for most teams.
If you play a whole game, 2 hours of gameplay.
At max, yeah.
At max. And I really struggled with that with a junior team a little bit. And if any of them are listening, our training attendance was pretty low at certain times of the year.
Yeah.
And I struggled with that, planning that to still be really valuable because there is so much value out of having 12 people at a training to get to run double the amount of drills. You can run it on two sides of the court and then you can bring it back together and do high intensity gameplay with the best possible players available. Because at higher senior teams, I think it comes a bit easier at our team. I mean, we've had seasons where we've had to have our coach step in and say, our attendance is a little lax. We need to ask for more from everyone.
We haven't had to do that in many years.
Yeah.
Our team's been really good with attendance. Yeah. But juniors is tough as well.
Yeah, because there's so many different commitments. And the only perk to that is they are not missing for no reason. They're missing for other volleyball.
They've got genuine reasons.
Or I'll give them benefit of the doubt most of the time.
They're not at home playing Fortnite. Yeah.
And then probably very similarly, like trying to get them to buy into the system I want them to run that may not work short term. I mean, we were intending to win with that team. They had the talent to do so. Unfortunately, didn't.
Yeah.
But very talented junior team.
And you'll keep most of them. Yeah. Only one of them is aging out.
Yeah, to try and get them to play a system that will last them into their senior years or get them players that are able to slot in with senior players.
Yeah.
But then with the new division, a few of them probably felt, I could be like, because of how it used to work was at 16, you play a Prem 2 team as a end of roster player.
Yeah.
But now it's, you do this until you age out potentially.
And then go into Prem.
And then go into the senior teams. So trying to get them invested in that new team and then prepare them for when it actually matters, because we had a very similar lull. We had a lot of sort of easier teams because not every club could field an incredible junior team because their juniors are playing Prem 1.
Yeah. And a lot of clubs do that. Like we were probably one of the only clubs that sort of half forced our juniors to play in that division because it is the first year.
There's a lot of benefits that I was presenting to them there's a lot of benefits of playing within your age group and developing skills within your age group, adapting to that style.
Yeah.
And then still getting training environments where you can play with senior players because that's also very beneficial.
Yeah.
But then the playing, I think, was more valuable.
Yeah.
So that was a very tough thing to then have a bit of a lull and then get to finals when it actually mattered and we lost a final against a team that we had beaten the week earlier.
Oh, really? I didn't realize
our last round game was it was actually close as well, but then came to a final and like maybe preparation for final environment. A lot of them, it was their first time playing a state league competition. A lot of first time with actual support.
A lot of the nerves maybe coming into it.
A different environment, and it's just a different way to treat a game when you know it could be your last. Like it's now done.
Yeah. And like these are kids at the end of the day. Like they deal with nerves very differently to what you and I have played in many finals. So we're very used to it by now.
And first time as a coach, like I can tell them, hey, I've been in finals. And this is what it feels like. But I need to probably work on developing actually being like, hey, it actually is like that, and getting them more prepped.
Yeah. I will admit though, something else I learned this year is that there's not a lot you can do as a coach to prepare players for their first final. A lot of my players in the men's, and they're adults, really struggled with the nerves of the final that we played. Like it really got to the better of some players. And I don't know, I can't think of good ways, but potentially our audience members might have some.
Yeah, if you have any ways you did yourself.
To mentally prepare for like a finals, high pressure, very, very nervous, lots of eyes on you. Like my thing is just, well, how did you get good at it?
I just tried to have, and I tried to get this to a couple of players. What is your option when your best option doesn't work? Like be a multi-dimensional player. If this isn't working, what's next? If this isn't working, what's next? Rather than just banging your head against the wall, being like, it'll work. It probably won't.
And like letting the nerves and the pressure.
Maybe if it's not your day, you can't. Or as well, the Uni Nationals team had a lot of conversation about maybe being a quieter team, finding ways to be more vocal, more invested, more communicating more.
Yeah.
But not forcing it because you can then tell when it's a fake. We're screaming for no reason.
Yeah.
So there's lots of different ways to try and just tell people to work on it themselves. I think I worked on probably internalizing myself a little bit more in moments, and have been very lucky that I've been a part of teams that allow that. So maybe I do disappear for 2 points
and then
because I'm internalizing, and maybe I'm just in those moments trying to be a consistent player and just internalizing, looking at myself, and then being like, okay, I am back here. And this is how I can insert myself into a game again. Well,
if you last 3 points, Gus puts me on for you.
Yeah.
That's normal. That's what we did this year.
Yeah.
Gus is like, Mitch, Alex is quiet. Get out there.
Yeah.
Okay, say less. I think like as a player, you know, I used to be a very nervous player. Couldn't really tell you why. Just was. I don't think I am anymore, just because of that the exposure, like of having like what I got here in 2018. We've made every single final except for one, so that's pretty good. Yeah. And I've been lucky enough to be on the bench for a few, on the court for a few, sick for one. So like I've experienced those nerves and learned how to deal with them year in, year out, and gotten better and better and better slowly. I'll admit the first final, I think I was really shitting myself.
Yeah, I have those too. Like I think back to like a junior state team where I got called upon to hit a ball, and I remember, like I can still remember tipping it into a block, tipping it out down the line in classic Alex fashion.
You still do that now?
Yeah, I still do that now, but not in crucial moments.
Do we know about that?
But then also like then being a player that would come off the bench when needed or coming on cold and having to really appear immediately. And that it was very difficult. Well, I mean, I think I was very lucky that I was kind of capable of getting
past that.
quick.
Yeah. That is one thing if I'm ever going to like toot my own horn, I think I'm a very good player coming off the bench now compared to what I used to be, especially considering that over the last couple of years I have played that role compared to being a starter the few years before that. So like it's a different mentality because it's like you don't really get the first 5 to 10 points of a set one to get rid of the nerves once you're a starter. Like you hold on to those nerves on the bench. When you come on, it's like, oh, this is...
Let's toot our own horns. Let's go.
Yeah, no, fair enough. No, but like, I think at the end of the day, the more you play in those tougher environments, the better you'll become. And that may take a while. It may not. Like, and it kind of sucks for some teams that get a bit of a golden age together, but it only lasts for like a year or two before players move on. And it's like, oh, then we've got to grind again to make finals. Then we've got new players who are way more nervous. And it's, it can be tough, but, you know.
But then you're learning a skill if you're one of those players that holds around through those hard times. You learn to be that player that can facilitate a lot of growth and change around you. I mean, hopefully you're growing and changing too, but allowing a lot of change.
But wrapping this up, Alex and I, we've got a lot of short form content we're about to flog out to the social medias. You guys will probably be sick of hearing our voices. We successfully did some mic'd up at uni games. It was only for your game because we just never really had much overlap. And if we did, I was grumpy and exhausted.
And didn't want to insert it into something that wasn't necessarily prepped for it, but it was...
we're going to do our slay and shame as well.
Yeah.
This is the uni games special, which we may continue in the podcast, we may not. But we were both shamed from our teams. A slay and shame is just like something you did good, something you did bad.
Yeah, pit and peak.
Yeah.
Similar.
Alex and I both got shamed for being apparently different people on the mics when we were coaching. So we were like, maybe we should.
I gave a lot more inspirational, profound phrases, I was told.
I think the feedback was that you were just nicer.
Yeah, true. Probably true. Definitely.
Luckily, my girls didn't experience me mic'd up. I feel like I'm the same. I don't know.
I was nicer.
You were nicer. Yeah. It was very entertaining. Oh, except like the longer we were mic'd up, the more ourselves we became.
Yeah.
Like there's a particular clip I'm thinking of, which I'm definitely going to post because it's so funny, of you celebrating. I think it was the utility system. And you were like, I knew I put that player there for a reason. And it
was the first server that had made a couple of service errors the game earlier, and I opened my team serving with them and they served an ace.
It actually makes a lot more sense now. Yeah. So you guys can all keep an eye out for all of that. We're doing so much AVL stuff as well. Like keep an eye out. I hope you guys enjoyed the commentary if you listened to it on the Melbourne Vipers home round on the weekend. I'm not going to lie, my throat was it's still killing me. Let's get into our slay and shame right now. My slay is for Brooke, Esther and Darcy for stepping in for a very sick Alex and coming in and helped me on commentary. You three did really amazing. You carried me because my voice was it was gone and I was exhausted too.
Yeah, my shame was getting very ill on the last day of a tournament.
Yeah.
And then feeling awful on a very long drive back.
Yeah. And
also a shame for losing my voice cheering for a different team.
A different team, yeah. Not even the team you're there for.
I will say that it was going for my team, but it was just a very different coaching role. I was speaking, I was letting them play.
And you justified
versus
all you
on the
like.
other team. On the other team, I'm just there to be very vocal. They didn't need me.
Okay.
They didn't need me, the other team, so I was just having fun.
You tell yourself whatever you want to tell yourself to let you sleep at night. What's my shame? Oh, shame for bloody Canberra for making us pay for parking just about everywhere we went. There's about 15 people that live there. Why do we need to pay for parking?
Yeah.
I reckon I spent $250 on parking.
Yeah.
Because paid it in the city, which was a stone throw away from the apartment that we were in, which was not paid for parking, but 2 out of 3 stadiums pay for parking. And we were there every day and they only lasted 3 hours. So you'd have to go to your car and we went out to the car about 10 minutes before my ticket had expired. And I was like, oh, do I really need to pay for the next 3 hours? But we went out there around lunchtime, and a lot of other uni students obviously hadn't paid because there were tickets everywhere.
Yeah.
And I was like, I looked at one of them, and I think it was like $120.
The car I went in one day, I said, surely we risk it. We're only in there for an hour to watch, I think, the girls' game and then back out. And then we got out of the car, so the car next to us had an expired ticket.
Yeah.
A little red notice, and we went, okay, we'll pay for an hour of parking.
Yeah. So that is absolutely a shame. Sorry, Camo, but there's no people that live there. Why is there paper parking? It's literally cheaper in Melbourne.
Yeah.
That is an absolute shame. My other shame would be absolutely you for being sick and leaving me by myself for commentating the games. Or not even commentating, just I had to do interviews by myself. I had to. Okay, that's it.
And you did a wonderful job of it, though.
I'm just having a wine now.
I'm counteracting that because my slay is for myself for being such a great supporter for a team and just being there. My slay is for the Western Sydney boys for being the best team out there.
Not even your own team.
I mean, my team was pretty good.
That's a shame.
Slay, my team, very good. Slay, the Western Sydney boys, a little bit more. Just being very fun and letting me be annoying on their bench.
Yeah.
And the Monash boys hopefully not hating me too much and finding it hopefully a little bit funny.
I reckon they do now. They did not at the time.
I think at the moment a few of them didn't really know why I even just assumed I was doing it to be a prick. But I at least know the Western Sydney boys a little bit. So was happy to cheer on their side. If it was just a random team.
Yeah, they would be fuming if...
Hey, they could have asked me to go on their bench and I probably would have chosen Western Sydney because they're just fun.
And we just don't like Monash. We like the people, just not the brand because it's a rivalry. Yeah, we get it. We get it. Is that that's your second highest
medal?
Yeah.
Yeah, last year.
Gold. You're on 3, I think.
Mate, we'll do a recap of that season. Last year's Uni Nats. We have to.
No, we won't.
Mate, we got to the gold medal off and out of rotation. That's worth something.
Which team was that against?
Macquarie.
That's so
good.
I've heard that story so many times and it's still so funny.
And the podcast hasn't yet, so everyone ask for that story.
Anyways.
And we'll get Henry on.
Yeah.
To talk about it.
Well, he's in Perth at the moment, I think. All right, we hope you enjoyed today's absolute yap fest. I think we went off topic and we probably went around in circles.
But that was the topic.
But that was the idea. And we'll get to the Olympics eventually.
4 years.
Yeah, we've got 4 years to do it. The international club season's starting up soon, so there might be some early matches. We'll have a look and we'll break down and stuff.
And tell people what to look at. If there's anything we see, we go, hey, give that a watch.
Right now, the easiest and most accessible way to watch it is to go onto Volleyball World TV, buy a cheap subscription, make sure it says it's got like the Italian Superlega, or I think that's what it's called. And you can watch the women's and the men's. I think they've either just done so they normally do like a preseason little tournament, which is like the top 4 teams from last year. They play off. Well, that might be the mid-season one. But either way, get that subscription. That's the easiest way to watch it at the moment. Alex and I will give other options for the Plus Liga and the... We still haven't found a way to watch the V-League, the Japanese league. So, and I really want to because I'm looking at some of the teams and I
there's a lot of talent there.
There's a lot of talent there. But yeah, hope you enjoyed this Yap Fest. Hope you guys are excited for our short form content. There will be more. Alex and I are... Well, I'm playing in Bendigo this weekend. We don't know whether you're playing.
I'll be potentially there.
Maybe there. You'll be there, surely. Come support me.
No, I'll come heckle.
That's fine. We'll be mic'd up. Yeah, we'll be mic'd up.
Can I be mic'd up in the crowd?
Absolutely. I'll be mic'd up on the court too.
Yeah. On the bench.
No, I won't be for Saturday because most of our players are missing. So I'll have to play. And I haven't trained in about 4 weeks. So I'm going to be pretty bad.
Same as usual. See, this is the heckling you'll get from the sideline. Can I be your coach?
I just want to be supportive.
Can you get me on the coach? Can you get me on the score sheet as a coach?
No, because the coach that we've got is like paying me to be there. You're going to pay me to be there?
No.
So I thought. If you guys have ideas, send them to us. If you guys have advice, if you guys have anything, just send it to us. We We've gotten a lot of positive feedback from the podcast so far. We've only done like 4 episodes, so feel free to help shape this product as much as you can. We are listening. We are reading comments where we're getting a lot of verbal people come up to us and tell us what they think and where we should go. We're taking it all in. We've got this massive notepad. Well, I do. You don't. Because you haven't opened it yet, and it's sitting in the drive for you. And yeah, of stuff that we plan to do and that we want to do. Anything else?
No. Thank you. That was good. Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Very glad.
Thanks.